Lebanon was paradise, the Switzerland of the Middle East, until Hezbollah came. The Americans are saying that war is imminent and moving forces closer to the Middle East. Shalom from Israel. I'm Hanani Naftali with the latest update from the Middle East. Before we begin, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more updates and insights on the Middle East. Let's begin with the most recent story that everybody is talking about, and it's the revelation by the British Telegraph that Hezbollah is stashing massive amounts of Iranian weapons, including missiles and explosives, at no other than the Beirut Al-Hariri International Airport. This includes rockets, missiles, Cornet anti-tank missiles, and ballistic missiles. The airport immediately denied it and invited journalists to tour the airport, but they must think that we're all stupid. Because of course we know that Hezbollah, with its influence, probably controlled what the journalists were able to see and what not. Look at this video in which journalists are banned from entering the cargo area and cannot see what's happening there.
عندما وصلنا إلى مركز الشحن الجوي كان قد سمح للسفراء بالدخول، ولكن منع الصحفيون من الدخول لتصوير مركز المركز من الداخل.
مكان التنظيم جيد ومنعنا نصور اللي مفروض نصور نحن كصحفيين.
So what's going on in Lebanon, and how do people feel about the war with Hezbollah? Thousands of Lebanese people, some reports even suggest that about 100,000 of them have fled their homes, desperately trying to avoid their country becoming another Gaza. The majority of the Lebanese people are not happy with Hezbollah. In some villages in southern Lebanon, we now see formations of Christian resistance groups whose goal is to make the lives of Hezbollah terrorists harder, to kick them out of their villages, and to make sure that they are not using their villages as terrorist bases, because then of course the Israeli Air Force is targeting these bases. Now you have to understand, Hezbollah is considered to be one of the most powerful non-state actors, and it is also one of the biggest and most organized narco-terrorist groups. These drugs, by the way, end up all over the world. Hezbollah's aggressive actions along Israel's northern border have not gone unnoticed. For 8 months, this terror group has relentlessly targeted Israeli military assets and civilians, killing 19 soldiers and 11 civilians. This constant barrage has forced tens of thousands of Israelis to abandon their homes, transforming northern Israel into a tense, militarized zone. Israel, of course, just like any other country, has been responding very powerfully, defending and protecting its people, as seen in these satellite images from southern Lebanon of before and after. Hezbollah, just like Hamas, loves to use the civilian population as a cover for its terrorist activities. The Lebanese people do not want to see their fate mirror that of Gaza. Yet their own government's inability to uproot Hezbollah leaves them with few options but to flee. Now listen to this, because some Lebanese people, and I hope it's a growing number, say that Israel is their hope for the future of Lebanon, because they know that only Israel dares to act instead of giving speeches like most world leaders do. Israel acts against terror while world organizations act against Israel. I think that Hezbollah, with its continuous provocations, is leading Lebanon down a path of destruction. The Lebanese people deserve better than to be in the pawns of Iran's game. They deserve a future free from the terror imposed by Hezbollah. I have a hard time understanding the mainstream media that warns against the potential of an Israel-Lebanon war. What are you talking about? We are at war right now. Rocket sirens every day, suicide drones almost every day, falling IDF soldiers, bereaved families. We are at war. The residents here in the north don't care if it's official or not. They care about getting their lives back. And it's only possible with the absence of Hezbollah. But what's interesting is how the officiality of the war is playing a role in decision-making, also by the leader of Hezbollah, Nasrallah. Nasrallah, according to reports, is afraid that Israel might preempt his planned attack by using bases in Cyprus, which hosted Israeli forces in joint exercises in the past. His threats showed that the potential for this conflict to escalate into a broader regional conflict is really possible, involving not only Israel and Hezbollah, but potentially Iran and other proxies as well. However, there is also some ongoing drama between Israel and the Biden administration. Prime Minister Netanyahu recorded a video where he openly called out the Biden administration and said,
אני מעריך מאוד את התמיכה של הנשיא ביידן והממשל האמריקני בישראל. מאז תחילת המלחמה, ארצות הברית נתנה לנו תמיכה חשובה מאוד ברוח ובחומר, באמצעי ההגנה ובאמצעי ההתקפה. אבל לפני כ4 חודשים חלה ירידה דרמטית באספקת החימושים שהגיעו מארצות הברית לישראל. במשך שבועות ארוכים פנינו לידידינו האמריקנים בבקשה להאיץ את המשלוחים. עשינו זאת פעם אחר פעם, אבל אני מוכן לספוג התקפות אישיות למען ביטחון ישראל. כראש ממשלת ישראל, תפקידי הוא לעשות הכל כדי להבטיח שללוחמים הגיבורים שלנו יהיה מיטב אמצעי הלחימה.
But despite that, senior US officials have said that America will back Israel, providing necessary security assistance, especially fearing that the Islamic regime in Iran will join the war if Israel and Hezbollah go into a full-scale war that will include Israeli forces entering Lebanon. Hezbollah's provocations are not isolated incidents. They are part of a broader strategy by Iran to destabilize the region and challenge Israel's security. This is not just a local issue. It's a conflict with global implications to create a Shia caliphate. They want the destruction of Israel because Israel stands between them and their sick goals. The West may be naive, but Israel is not naive. And they hate the fact that they cannot fool us. The US has warned that any Israeli military action against Hezbollah could provoke a direct response from Iran. Let's change the equation. Instead of warning Israel, the Biden administration should warn Iran. Instead of challenging the one democracy in the Middle East, how about challenging the enemies of democracy? In my view, the Biden administration's support is vital, but it must go beyond words. Israel should never have to face these threats alone, especially because winning this war is a great victory for America as well, against terrorism, for the sake of our common and shared values and interests. But another question that a lot of Israelis are trying to answer right now is what would happen in Israel in case of a full-scale war? Well, a broader conflict involving Iran could overwhelm Israel's defenses, even straining the capabilities of the highly praised Iron Dome system. Some people even talk about a complete blackout in Israel, meaning no electricity and no water. The possibility of Hezbollah's extensive rocket arsenal being unleashed on Israeli cities is a reality that Israel's leaders are preparing for. Let's be clear. Hezbollah, with Iran's backing, is a significant threat not just to Israel, but to the regional stability, because Hezbollah is part of the forces of darkness. Hezbollah represents the Islamic regime in Iran. So when you hear about Hezbollah, know that Hezbollah threatens you as well, not just Israel. Israel just stands in their way, and the world has to understand that. Prime Minister Netanyahu has emphasized that while diplomatic solution is preferable, Israel is ready for war if necessary. We're not interested in wars. But when wars are waged against us, same with Hezbollah that started firing rockets into Israel when Hamas invaded Israel and Israel had to respond. Look, we cannot allow Hezbollah or any other terrorist group to dictate the terms of our security. Sometimes the path to peace requires the strength to fight for it. As they say, if you want peace, prepare for war. Of course, when we open the Bible, it talks very clearly about what is yet to happen, the end times, and also how the story ends. From a biblical perspective, the current events in the Middle East can be seen as part of a larger story. The Bible speaks of times of great conflict and turmoil, especially in the land of Israel. The threats facing Israel today are not new. Throughout history, Israel has faced numerous enemies and challenges, yet through it all, the Jewish people have remained resilient, holding on to their faith. All thanks to God. It proves that the God of Israel is alive. I feel like that's something that our enemies don't really understand about us, that our faith is bigger than their hate. And in the end, the message is very clear. Israel will defend itself against all threats. We stand ready to respond with full force if provoked. The world must recognize the reality of the situation and support Israel's right and duty to defend its sovereignty. Thank you for watching. Shalom and stay strong. Keep Israel in your prayers.